season. I got you a great guest. It's Andy Krutsinger of the Southeast Iowa Union. We are here in his hometown, or the town he lives in. I think actually Sheridan might be his hometown. But we're here with the great, the one and only Andy Krutsinger, and I make a deal with him. Every 6 years, he provides me with excellent information. I'll buy him lunch. So
there you go.
he just got paid off on that one a little bit ago. So welcome to the program. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm ready for football season.
Well, tell me a little. I'm going to get the games up that we're going to do here. Tell me a little bit about what you're kind of excited about, maybe for the.
I always like football season the best because just the more people care about it. I mean, everyone cares. You know, every other season the parents are into it. And people who are close to school, but everyone cares how the high school football team's doing. So it's a fresh, kind of like I consider this as the real new year.
Yeah.
The new school year where
Yeah, school's starting, and we got the football on Fridays, and it's before it's somewhere in between super hot and real cold. So I think this is going to be a great weekend. I'm just going to kind of go over some of the games that I've got. Scotty and I went over the Beat the Round guy earlier, which is a preview of week one here. And the first game is Waco at Central City. Waco's favored by 91% of our polled on the poll that I put out between this game. I haven't seen Waco anything. All I know is I got Hayden Shell.
They got Hayden Shellman, and they also beat the Central City team like 49-0 last year. So Waco had a bad end to the year last year. They lost their last 5, but this is a good get-right game for them. They're at home, which is quite different than being on the road when we're playing against Central City. I mean, Shellman's one of our best players. I think we're probably going to see a lot of new names that they need to work into the offense this year. Have a day, because I would assume that Central City struggled to stop them last year. I would expect Waco to have a nice little game this year too. So I like Waco's chances in that one.
Well, Coach Inigo will have the boys ready to play, I'm sure. They lost a big Stanton kid.
Yep.
That
that's a big
was
loss.
I mean, it took about an hour and a half just to go around him, even if he didn't try to block it. So he's so big. But we'll see how their offensive line is. We'll get a look at how they're doing this year. A matchup, I believe you told me you're going to be at this game next week, which will be Waco and Winfield Mount Union. Winfield Mount Union is taking on Easton Valley. They got a 70 to 30% a chance to win according to our poll here on the Twitter poll. Tell us what do you know about these teams?
Yeah, well, this is actually the opposite. Easton Valley beat them last year. It was a tough one up there. Winfield's got Milks back at quarterback, Samuel's back at receiver, so they have their top passer and receiver back this year. They Winfield didn't light it up too much last year, but they kind of snuck into the playoffs on the tiebreaker last year. So this is a tough one for WMU, but it's a good way to prove that you're a little better than you were last year if you can make a close game or knock off Easton Valley. So yeah, I really wonder if if they're gonna throw the ball a lot, or if they're going to let Milks run it and try and power through them, or what. But I think that's going to be a pretty close game.
Well, I have interviewed Coach McCarty, and he texted me about the scrimmage. He thought they looked good at the scrimmage, and I think that's important to, if you're going to make mistakes, it's a great place to make them. But if you're looking like, pretty sharp in a scrimmage in week 0, I think that bodes well for you on week 1. And he has some good talented players coming back, and he got a quarterback coming back. So I think they should be a lot more solid than they were last year. Now, here's a game, one of the schools you talked to me a little bit about before. This is a big game. This is, the Yankees and Red Sox, Cubs, Cardinals, Bears and Vikings, or any of that kind of thing. And this is Van Buren and Central Lee. They're going to start things off. These schools are close to each other, and they have a big. They're going to have a big audience for this game. A lot of fans will be there. You were telling me that they were a little late getting their roster up, but they do have a roster. They do have a lot of kids come back. They didn't lose much, and they got a new coach who I don't even know who that is. But tell me a little bit about what your thoughts on this game.
Well, first off, according to Bound, this is the Hall of Fame makeup, football alumni recognition, and veteran appreciation day. So three big days going on. But Central Lee had a nice team last year, and they were pretty hyped up going into last year. They did beat Van Buren 28-8. I think they scored the first 28 points with that one last year. But Van Buren was one of our youngest teams last year. They should have Cockrell back at quarterback. They should have a lot of their ball carriers.
That kid named Simmons.
He was a senior last year.
No, he was a senior because he had one game where he just went off. I think it was against Wapello, where they probably had their very best game.
Yep. But they got Jay Duncan as a speedster, so they have Van Buren has enough to. It should be a really good battle. Van Buren is one of the teams that last year we have a couple teams, Van Buren and Cardinal, that kind of struggled last year that should be taking a little step up this year.
Well, Central Lee, it seems like the last couple of years, they win all their non-conference games, and then they start playing that hella schedule that they got to play. And then they have a little tougher time there. But one of these two schools is going to get off to a good start here. And it's a 75% on the Central League in the poll. But here's the poll. Burlington at Fort Madison, 70% on the Burlington. Burlington certainly had a better year last year than Fort Madison had. But Scotty Melvin says that a lot of what has been wrong with Fort Madison is they didn't have enough players. And now he says the roster looks good, like it's deep, and then like they may be able to turn things around.
Well, they'll have a lot of challenging games, so it's good to turn things around. They play everybody in the Southeast Conference. They play Burlington, Keokuk, Mount Pleasant, Fairfield, Washington. A lot of those teams I just mentioned should be a little better than they were last year because they were young. So, yeah, Fort Madison was kind of the team that towards the end of the year last year, they were struggling with numbers and stuff, and they were playing teams you don't want to struggle with numbers against, Solons of the world. And so I'll be excited to see if they can. I think the rest of that crew should be a little better this year, so it'll be nice to see Fort Madison get back to being competitive. It wasn't too many years ago where Fort Madison was one of the more feared teams in the area.
Yeah, well, Burlington is kind of similar to Central League. You know, they get out to the great start, but then they are in the wheel of death. I think is what their conference is called there. And they played pretty well in some of those games, and they had a running back. They called him the Wild Man. That he's not going to be back this year, so they do have their quarterback coming back. To me, that's huge.
Yeah, you need at least. Really, you need your starting running back or your starting quarterback to be back, at least to have a start on what the offense is going to be. Otherwise, it usually takes a little while to get going.
Well, a school that has been on the up for the last few years is West Burlington Notre Dame. They're going to be taking on Danville at Danville. Our poll shows 100% West Burlington Notre Dame on this game. I'm not entirely sure of that. I've been trying to. I tried to get a Danville in on this run here that I'm doing today, but we weren't able to put it together. But I know Danville's tough at home. I think they have pretty decent numbers. What are you thinking on this game?
Yeah, Danville almost won their district last year. Almost beat Pekin. I was at the game between Pekin and Danville. It was kind of the de facto district championship. West Burlington Notre Dame is another team that plays in that district of death with Mid Prairie and West Liberty and Central Lee and all them. So Danville did lose a lot of their main guys from last year. Their quarterback that ran a lot. I believe a lot of their receiving yards. They bring some receivers back. So they should be able to battle with West Burlington Notre Dame. Last year, West Burlington Notre Dame won this one by a touchdown, I believe. So it should be that's a game where I think it's good that they're playing against each other because they should be able to push each other a little bit. West Burlington, though, Kellen Porter stepped up as the starting quarterback already last year. You know, the Porters are an athletic family, and he's going into his sophomore year. He's very, very active.
Well, that's people are high on him.
Yep.
That's what I know. I tried to get an opportunity to talk to Coach Rinker, but we didn't get that.
Jaden Nathan, by the way, ran for 196 yards and 2 touchdowns against Danville last year too.
See, that's why I paid for your lunch.
Yeah.
That information that you get there. Here's a game that is the closest game according to our viewers here, and it's Mount Pleasant at Meepo. People are liking Mount Pleasant by 55 to 45 here. They got the Big Bang Lang there. We're going to be talking to Coach Bolin next and get some information. I've already talked to Meepo. They're having a good year. They had a good scrimmage. They like what they saw there. I would never count Meepo against anybody. I think this is a game that might have some eyes on it.
Yeah, I agree, and definitely a game between two teams that have a lot of, I guess, preseason hype. Meepo has Quincy King back this year. He was their starting quarterback last year, so that's what we talked about. Now, Meepo does have a good amount of ball carriers and ball catchers that aren't back this year. Last year, they had 2 shots to beat Mount Pleasant, and the last minute and a half, a fumble recovery and interception helped Mount Pleasant escape that one. MP probably one of the more talented teams as far as who's coming back. You got the starting quarterback back. You don't have your main running back, but they have 2 running backs that ran for over 300 yards last year, and Griffin Jones and Ryan Helling. And Mount Pleasant's pretty stacked this year. So you mentioned Isaiah Lang, both offensively and defensively. So I think it's an uphill. It would be an uphill climb for Mediapolis, but they're playing at home. They got a good home field advantage.
Well, is Mount Pleasant, did they graduate, like a running back or an offensive line?
Ramsey Davis and offensive lineman. So there's a lot of power.
He was a big part of what they did last year.
And their defense will be a little newer.
We'll have some new guys who plays. It looks like. So I guess this would be a place. You guys did the Mount Pleasant games last year, but you're telling me you're not doing it right
No,
now.
no. Amplify's got the streams. We're not live streaming this year. We'll have video content, but no live streaming. So it'll be on a different channel. So if you go to South Town Live, you will see the live stream link.
Well, that's too bad because I watched it a lot.
I was on it.
When you were doing it, it was just riveting, and I couldn't even change the channel.
Maybe one day.
I haven't watched a soccer game. I have no idea what happened. I just remember talking to you or listening to you talk about it. So here's the game, and this result surprises me. I'm not always a lot of surprises, but this one surprises me. Washington's playing Mid-Prairie at Mid-Prairie, and our audience believes they have an 83%. Mid-Prairie has an 83% chance to win. I still think Washington is a much bigger school here. I don't know, it was just a little different mix of who's watching these schools or anything. It's just getting started. But I don't know too much about Washington's team. I know they have one great big kid that I've been paying attention to.
Nick Stone, probably.
Yeah, and Wolf, there was a Wolf kid.
That was your name,
Rudy Wolf, yeah. He's big.
Yeah, they got some big kids. Washington has a lot of their leading tacklers this year back as well. I'll tell you, both these teams lose kind of their bread and butter, their offense. Washington had Cale Williams last year. He did a lot of passing, a lot of rushing. And Nick Hudson Arenfeld, who's probably top 3 probably of our players, just an absolute star. He might have been the captain of our all-union team, I forget. But so both teams will need to do a little bit different offensively. There'll be a little bit more of a new look offense. But Mid-Prairie does have, they got Brooks Weber back. They have a couple receivers back. They're ranked. So Mid-Prairie probably favored into this. But another big difference is last year that one was up in Wellman. This year it's Case Field. So Jumpin' Jack Milton will be covering that game, so that should be it. The Washington County rivalry. I've heard a rumor that the reason they didn't do that for a few years is there are too many fights. Not sure if that's true or not, but I wasn't here, so I'm not reporting that. That's the rumor I heard.
I know about
they called the radio.
I called the Cedar Rapids Titans the biggest fight
Oh,
in the
yeah,
history of
that's
sports.
right. That's right.
And I got that from.
That's right. You had a great call on that.
They're not super happy about me sharing that sometimes. But, it was my greatest day in the history of my life. Broadcast career.
You can't get into fights on in
I mean, you don't usually have one entire team leap over the wall and get into fist fights and carry that fight from the sideline to the hallway, clear back into the locker room like that. But I'm for the spirited games like that.
That was the pro team. They're all adults, so you can be happy if they fought.
Well, here's the game I think you're going to be on and I think you have looked into this game a little bit, and this is Benton at the Fairfield Trojans, and the Trojans have had a little trouble with Benton, but I think Benton has they lost a lot of players from last year.
lot
A lot of players, a lot of their skilled players, a lot of the guys that got their yardage and everything. Doesn't mean these new guys aren't going to pick up where the other guys left off. Now, we got to see the Trojans in their scrimmage, and I was suspecting going into that the Trojans was going to have an elite offensive because of Ross Richardson coming back, because of Easton Bisgard, and I saw several other running backs that they had get the ball and do well with it there. I was wondering about their defense. You know, their defense wasn't near as good as their offense last year or so. But I did think I did see some positive things. But you know, Ethan Bisgard, you know, you know, when they had the varsity, the number one guys in there, they were moving the chains and they were getting in the end zone. And SK was more than capable of being a defense to help them get ready for the season. But you know, there were some other areas where as a scrimmage it wasn't all peaches and cream, but there was some peaches and there was some cream in there. But the varsity offense is what I thought looked really good. Tell us a little bit about this game. You're kind of high on Fairfield. I'm kind of high on Fairfield.
Big time. So last year when they went up to Benton, it was kind of one of those things where Benton was supposed to be really good. We thought, oh, what a horrible first game for Fairfield to have to play. They have to go up to Benton. They're only down 2 at halftime. That was early in the season, and the last 2 years Fairfield's gotten better as the season went on. They got a complicated offense. I think that's why. You know, it's a different type of offense that works better as the year goes on. But I mentioned how important it is to have your starting quarterback or your starting running back back. They got both. They got both, and those were their two big guys last year. So even Bisgard put up some crazy numbers last year. I did hear that Benton had a lot of their big guys, the offensive linemen. But anyone who touched the ball last year in that game is, I don't think they might have one kid that had a real carry on varsity that wasn't a senior. They were all seniors last year.
Well, hopefully the Trojans get some turnovers here in this game. I think their running game can keep the defense off. I'm on the Trojans with you on this one, but our viewers are 83% in favor of the Benton here, but I think that's a lot based on reputation and not so much on reality. But I think Fairfield's got a good one. PCM taking on SK. This one's at SK. Our viewers are 100% on PCM, but I am, you know, we're talking about if I had to pick an upset of the week, this is it, baby. I saw good things out of SK in that game. I saw a team that was not in week 0 shape, they were in week 3 shape. They were, you know, communicating well, they were moving the ball well, the defense was doing really well. It started out a little slow, but they made some adjustments and picked things up and started shutting things down. And they were getting some interceptions and they were making some hard hits. And you know, you gotta think Coach Jensen really has his team where he wants them going into week 1.
I agree. And you know, SK is the same as Fairfield, where they run a run-heavy offense. They've got their main running back. I call you back. I also these probably of all the games, this is probably the game with the most total talent in it. PCM is ranked, I believe, number 5 in 2A, right? Because they're a 2A school. And Sigourney Kyoto got votes in the rankings. They weren't ranked in our rankings, but they were right outside of it. So this is like a big boy game where it's 2 teams that have big time playoff potential going against each other. That's like a marquee game of the week type situation.
Well, some of the teams that we had in the area weren't able to have a game week 1, and they scheduled a game week 0. And we're going to talk a little bit about some games that were already played and one that you were at, but we'll save that till last. We're going to start with Cardinal, a school that you cover, against Columbus, a school that you cover. Columbus is a little low on numbers, and I believe Cardinal broke a 16, 17, 18 game losing streak when they get a win against L&M, that was like their 64th loss in a row. L&M would eventually get a win later that year, but Cardinals, and they've been climbing that ladder the last 2 years, even when you don't see a lot of wins or whatever. And their offense was good. I mean, their offense put up numbers last year. Tell me about the Cardinals. Columbus probably a little shocked. how they came out in game one there, but do you know anything about that game?
Yeah, well, first that was 44-0 road win for Cardinal. Zach Luke, one of the guys that is a good offensive player where they just Cardinal couldn't quite put everything together last year. He came out, ran for 115 and 2 touchdowns. Touchdown run from Brady Johnson, Bodie Farrell both had one. So they ran the ball really well. I think they only passed the ball 11 times. Maybe it's like the Cardinal Bulls, like 5-6 years ago. Cardinal ran the ball straight down people's throats and ran for all sorts of yards. So we'll see. Columbus is very low on numbers this year. And so I think Cardinals off this week. So we'll see week 3, if they can, how that turns out, if it's just a week 1 blip or whatever. But I'm sure Cardinals will be better than they were last year. I can guarantee that.
Cardinal does have a game. They're playing BGM, I believe.
Cardinal is playing BGM this week?
Not Cardinal, but Columbus.
Oh, Columbus.
Cardinal has the week off.
Yes.
I'm not 100% on that.
Yes.
But
Cardinals off, Columbus is BGM.
Columbus, I know BGM is without a kid I call Burns, Baby Burns. He graduated. But I do a lot of JV games. I get to see him in a JV game. And he just lit it up like a Christmas tree, and I was a big fan. I think his dad's a coach of that team. But I don't think he'll be there this year, but they were able to take on Island Lone Tree, who combined, and they do have enough players, but I think it's only 17, so they're barely
huge team.
And there's a week 0 game, and maybe they don't have it all kind of together early, but they did get a 56-6 loss against BGM. So it probably don't bode well for Columbus's chances this week. But Highland, we'll start there with Highland Lone Tree and tell me a little bit about these schools that both folded last year, one before the season, one during the season, but they're combined. And I think gosh, you just get you get 2 good players from both teams, and you should be able to do a few things on the football field.
Yeah, well, HLT, they got cool. I love the helmet, the HLT helmet. It's a team that used to exist. They were a playoff team back in the early 2000s, I believe. They went their separate ways. They're back together. It's going to take some building, I'm sure. You don't have a lot of players, and even if they were to go undefeated this year, they're ineligible for postseason play because they've got too many players compared to their class. But they had trouble with BGM. In fact, they ran for -3 yards. We talk about how good Cardinals are running the ball with how much Columbus struggled offensively running the ball. They're going against a team that allowed negative yards, so that's not great for Columbus.
They got 64 yards total, I think.
Not great for Columbus.
HLT, I think.
They did.
So they must have been able to move the ball through the air a little bit.
And they had a kick return touchdown.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
And
shout out to.
So HLT's kind of put things here. I think that if they do play this week, it's Meskwaki. Settlement, which I got to see. I did a Meskwaki settlement game with Lone Tree.
Did you?
They're interesting. They.
Oh no, I know who I haven't played. They play Martinsville St. Mary's this week.
Oh, well, that's right. They play Martin. But they think they do have that on the schedule at some point.
Yeah.
And that should be a game they should be able to compete in.
Yes. They competed last year against. I think they lost by a couple touchdowns against Martinsville St. Mary's last year.
All right. So those are the 2 games last week, except for the one game. That was a big game, and I'm sure people had eyes on this all across the state. Eddyville, Blakesburg, Fremont goes to Pekin in a week 0 game, which was a scramble game for the Davis County loss. So that Pekin doesn't play this week. They're off this week. But they did get one game in. 2 things we noticed about that game. One was Eddyville, Blakesburg. They have this Zane Molinex kid. That's one of the big hot kids coming back. Really tore things up. They were able to get off to a quick 12-0 start. I think they scored 12-0 in the first half. Pekin, let's just say they look great in the first quarter of that game. But they get it together. They go to the halftime. I think a 13-12 lead. It looked like to me it took about till the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter for them to really start putting the distance out. They win the game 27-12. And Elijah Brock, the big one, not the little one there. He is what I call the most underrated player in this area, and he has the big game.
He did. So they were down 12-0. Not only does EBF have uh, the Melnick kid you were just talking about, they also have a big old fullback that was pushing people out of the way. So they were able to gain yards. That way they also capitalized on a fake punt that went all the way down to the one. It was like 64 yards. And then Pekin snapped their own punt over their head and gave them the short field too. So it was 12-0. And Henry Adams chucks one down to Elijah Brock. He jumped over a guy basically to catch it. There's an okay picture of the newspaper. I really wish I got a better one. And scores. And then, so he had 2 over 50-yard touchdowns in the second quarter. The other one, he was double covered. Eddyville showed double coverage. They didn't hide it at all. Everyone knew he was getting double covered. And they were like, just check it to him anyway. And outran everybody down the sideline. And Henry Adams got a good arm on him. And so there's 2. It was 13-12. All the way up until the last few minutes of the fourth. And EBF threw the ball on first down, tried to trick him a little bit. And Elijah Brock, actually first they faked a punt. Brock picked it off. It was a pick 6. They had to call back the touchdown, but Henry Adams ran it in. So that was only a 7-point game. And the last real possession of the game, they tried to pass on first down. This time Elijah Brock intercepted and brought it back for a real pick 6, an official pick 6, and that kind of did it. So Pekin has really quick outside players and really quick skill players. So if you have to pass against Pekin, I don't think it's going to work out.
I always called him Lou Brock.
Lou Brock.
Since he's a freshman, I've always called him Lou Brock because he's so fast and he does remind me of Lou Brock there. And he's a great baseball player on top of that. But I think that his receiving is going to bode well. And I like to say, the week 0 game need to be a little clunky there, but they went from clunky in the first quarter to spunky in the fourth quarter. So and they don't have any games there. So I guess my last question for you here is, what are you thinking about the? What are you thinking about who's the strong teams in your area? And was there any games that I missed?
I don't think you missed any games. Let me do a little brain check here. Pekin does not play this week. Cardinal does not play this week. New London only plays JV, so there's 3 teams right there in London don't play. But I would say Mid Prairie probably, if I were to power rank going in, number 1, even though they lost Ehrenfeld, which is a great player, but they do have a lot of talent back. And they've just been on top the last couple of years. They've been in the playoffs. After that, Sigourney Kyoto and Mount Pleasant both received votes for the top of the polls. Pekin received votes for in the polls. Fairfield Fairfield did receive votes for in the Gazette polls. All the teams, the 3A teams, especially Mount Pleasant, Fairfield, Keokuk got even thrown there. They should be a little better. You know, everyone last year.
I forgot about the Wapello.
The Wapello, I'll get Wapello on watch out. But everyone in the 3A district of Solon should be just as good as always, but the teams they play will be a little better.
The Wise and Muscatine is who they play.
The Wise and Muscatine against Wapello. And so yeah, Washington's just a football school. They have to replace their big quarterback, but they have, I think, like 3 out of their top 5 tacklers back. So everyone in that realm should be a little better. Small schools last year, we didn't have a lot of. It was really just Pekin and A and 1A that was, and Pekin and Sigourney Kyoto that were good enough to really compete on the statewide level. So a lot of the teams are trying to kind of pull their bootstraps up a little bit. The Waco, Winfield, and Dan Burens of the world, they're just trying to take that next step. And Winfield did make the playoffs last year, but really be like the 4th in their class.
Well,
a lot on Friday.
Let's talk about Wapello. They got extra Vatican, which is big to me. They don't have enough players that cancel their JV season, but they do have a good running back, and I think that's one thing that can carry a long ways. And I did see that Iowa Sports ranked them 7th. I have no idea why. You don't rank Pekin, but you rank Wapello number 7 in 1A. I don't know exactly what Edgar did, but I've been seeing him since. I mean, I watched him in a JV game, and he got like 235 yards in the first half. And,
Yeah.
I mean, he is a totally terrific.
Buffalo did almost beat Inville last year. I forget that was a de facto playoff game basically. So maybe I mean the Wise Mustangs been struggling. So I guess those are two teams I don't cover. Buffalo beat them last year. They're getting ranked. I guess I'll put Buffalo in that. Write that down in my locker.
I think so. But we'll see. Buffalo, L&M made some big strides. They did break their like a 65-game losing streak. And what I like what the coach did was he extended his season. If you don't make the playoffs, you're allowed to schedule another game, and he did. He found something they could beat. I think it was a Twin Cedars or something, but they got to keep in there, and they put it on them. And I gotta believe that until you get a win, you don't feel like winners. You know, but once you get that win, you know, until you get a win, you step on the field and you hope you can win. After you get a win, you know you can win. You know, so I'm happy about them. Well, gonna cut into what you were saying about.
No, I was just saying. By the way, I looked at Wapalos roster from last year because I didn't remember. They didn't have a lot of seniors. Maybe I disagree with the top 10 unless there's something.
Well, I don't know, and maybe it was some kind of a misprint or something going on. But you know, if I see something, I like to see it, and I've got good hopes for Wapello, and I hope that they can, you know, hang in there. We got some team. I'm going to tell you straight up, we might have some teams full. I mean, we have some short rosters, and it didn't bode well for the short rosters. You know, if you're going to play a short roster, you better be an 8-man football. Because 11-man football and short rosters, I know one thing, if you have 100 kids go out, you might get some kids hurt.
Yeah.
You got 14 kids go out, you're going to get some kids hurt, for sure. Well, that's all I got for you. You got anything else?
That's all I got. Read the newspaper.
All right, thanks for being with us. Oh, and I want to thank Wyatt Moore and the Livestock Risk Management Partnership, Wayne Hayes, House Rep for Fairfield, Oskaloosa, Mount Pleasant. Keota and North Mahaska there. I also want to thank Iowa Tire of Fairfield, Iowa. I want to thank the Packwood Locker for helping us out, and anybody else that I didn't mention. We got some ideas. We'll get you some plugs in here. Thanks for being with us.